to this computer.
Hi, Tom.
All right. Welcome to Coffee with a Purpose, everyone. Our topic this morning is,
Morning.
our presenters are from the Caring Coalition, which is a group of several faith-based organizations in the Metrowest that come together to achieve kind of synergy in their community outreach efforts. And as part of that, one of the activities they're involved in is this thing called YIGBY, YIGBY, which is a play on NIMBY, except in a much more positive light. And I won't say more about it at this point. I'll let our speakers do that. There are going to be a few of them, but they're leading off with Lane McDonough. And but before I turn it to Lane, let's do our usual thing of briefly introducing ourselves so that Lane's got a sense of who's in the room. And, we do have a couple of new folks from Natick Moms Group as well. So let's see, Paul seems to be away from his computer at the moment. Bill, you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, Bill Ramage, active at First Church Natick, and I have a daughter who is a Natick mom. How about that?
Great. Kathleen.
Hi, good morning. Welcome, Lane. I'm Kathleen Donovan, 35-year resident of Natick. I serve on the Library Board of Trustees and I volunteer with Keep Natick Beautiful.
Thanks, Kathleen. Paul?
Good morning, Paul Peru. I worked for the town of Natick for a short while longer. Veteran Service Director for the town. I'm retiring the end of March and going into a little private therapy on the side. So I'm a 68-year resident of the town of Natick.
I think you got us beat. Thanks, Paul. Janji? Find your mute. No, there
Yeah,
you
sorry. I just
go.
have to manipulate my computer. Jean Gimonar, I'm 25, 26 years resident of Natick, and I'm happy to join this Monday morning conversations.
Thanks, Janji. Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Stanton. I am from Natick Moms Group, and I've lived in Natick for about 14 years, I think, at this point.
Great. Good to have you. Cindy.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Bates, 5.5-year resident, almost, I think, of Natick. Trail steward, keep Natick beautiful, picker-upper, and I sing in song and spirit. I'm not presently belong to any church, but I lean Unitarian.
Thanks, Cindy. Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Henningsen Crisafulli. I've been in Natick 23 years, married to a multi-generational Natick family, the Crisafulis. I have 2 kids in the Natick school system and learned about this meeting this morning through the Natick Moms Group, and I appreciate being here.
Cool. Great. Sally.
Oh, good morning. I'm kind of not quite here yet, but I'm here. I always enjoy the Monday Coffee with a Purpose and look forward to the subject today. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Rick.
Yes, good morning. Look forward to hearing your story. I'm a member of a Needham congregation, Congregational Church of Needham, but I live in Natick now. So thank you for coming.
Thanks, Rick. Alan.
I'm Alan Cantor. I moved to Natick last May, so 8 months. And I'm a member of the Unitarian Church in Sherburne.
Thanks,
down
Alan.
the street.
Tom. Tom might be away from his computer. Let's go on to Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna McKenzie, and it's great to be here. And I just a shout out to Jan because gave me a nice reminder. My mother often drove me to school in her pajamas, and it was a long time ago. And I would always say, Mom, what if the car breaks down? What if the car breaks down? Honest to God, one day the car did break down, and I was just mortified. But everybody thought my mom was like a movie star. She was very pretty and everything, and you are too, Jen. But
Yeah.
thanks for the warm memory of my mom, and I'm happy to be here.
That's great, Donna. Thanks. Tom, is he you're off mute now?
Yeah, I'm Tom Daly. I'm a 35-year resident of Natick, active with Spark Kindness, a local charity, and hope to be a climate activist. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Tom. Brinley.
Good morning. I'm a 25-ish year resident of Natick. Also married someone who'd been here for a while, but not as long as Jen. Two kids, one all the way through the system, one in high school, active in a lot of around the town stuff and committees. I'm really glad you're here. I think this is an important topic.
Thanks, Brinley. Sarah?
So Lane knows us from church for a long time, but for our new members, I'm Sarah. Doug and I have been here 40 something years. I'm active in a bunch of stuff around town, town meeting, community preservation, and Eco Natick. So looking forward to hearing the presentation.
Yeah, great. And I'm Doug. I organize this group when Martin's not available, and longtime member of First Congregational Church. Do a lot of work with them. So, Lane, thanks for being with us. And I know some of your cohorts will join as the hour goes on. So I'll turn it to you.
All right. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lane. I'm a 37-year resident of Natick. Two daughters that went through Natick High School. Natick schools all the way through high school, and one which is still living with us with her husband and my new granddaughter. So we a multi-generational family. So that's been a lot of fun. I guess town stuff. You know, I traveled a lot for work. So I all I really did was I coached basketball and soccer as the girls were growing up, and but mostly active at First Congregational. And that's how I came into the Caring Coalition. So two other folks are going to join us. Jeremy Kadden from Temple Israel, and Matt Noyes from the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, CHAPA. They're going to speak to the YIGBY, the Yes in God's Backyard legislation. They've both been active in that. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about it, and then you can ask me questions where I didn't cover what I said. So first topic is, what is the Caring Coalition of Metrowest? And then I'll talk about what our purpose is, our organization, whether we have one or don't have one, sort of like the history, how we came about, what we've been doing, our activities, and then follow and close it up with the Yes in God's Backyard. And as part of that, Caring Coalition became a trial membership in the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization, GBIO, which is a coalition of about 60 organizations in Greater Boston. They do a lot of, and they've been around since, I think, the 80s. Or maybe the 60s, looking for legislation that would get passed for different things. We'll talk about that later. So, what is the Caring Coalition of Metrowest? We were asked by some folks not to be the Metrowest Caring Coalition because everything around here is Metrowest this, Metrowest that, Metrowest that. So we're the Caring Coalition of Metrowest. So we're mostly a lay-led coalition of Metrowest faith communities. That was the initial intent. After a few months, we realized, it would probably help to have the professionals involved a little bit to give us a little insight as to what's going on. So very happily, several of the leaders of some of the congregations have been more involved, and that's been very helpful, and they're very supportive of this. So right now, we have 8 faith communities that are very active. Those include Christ Lutheran Church in Natick, the Edwidge Church up in Framingham, the First Congregational Church in Natick, the Hartford Street Presbyterian Church in Natick, the Plymouth Church, UCC in Framingham, St. Paul's Episcopal in Natick, Temple Israel in Natick, and the United Universalist Area Church in Sherburne, which is also a very active participant. We've had other communities that come in and out. The Common Street Spiritual Center has been part of us. Natick is United. And have you had Natick is United come speak here?
Yeah, I think we have. I don't recall a specific date, but
I mean, they're great. I mean, we do a lot with them. They're very organized. And then Family Promise Metrowest, I see Judy's Dixon has joined us. So we work with them. And GBIO. So those are some of the other organizations that we've worked with. So the purpose of the Caring Coalition was basically to share resources. I guess maybe the best way to describe this is to sort of talk a little bit about how it came to be. I was the moderator at the First Congregational Church in 2023. And in 2022 and 2023, I was involved in the search for a new settled pastor, and I worked closely with our interim pastor at the time, Andy Burr. And Andy came to me and he said, there's this program going on in Worcester, the Worcester Area Mission Society, WAMS, which is a much better acronym than CWAP, I have to admit.
You're the only one who calls it CWAP, Wade.
That's what it says. But WAMS, it's a great acronym, and that's sort of what they do. It's a well-funded organization out there in Worcester, and so they were pulling together. I think it was like 7 or 8, United Church of Christ congregations out there in Central Mass, and it was to sort of talk about how they could work together better. And I wasn't really that interested in going. It was like June or July, so it was kind of hot. But Andy's wife was going to lead it. She was going to be the facilitator, and I said, I have to see the woman that's married to this guy. That was really the real draw. So I went, and it was really interesting. Basically, what they did was they said, we got together as congregations and sort of listed what we were doing, what we thought was the important issues in our communities, and then we shared that, and then we broke up into groups amongst mixed ourselves up, and we said, well, how could we work together? And for 2 things, I was really impressed with some of the stuff that these congregations were doing. They had community gardens that were, generating a lot of food. They were, housing folks, advocating for immigrants, raising lots of money in different areas. But we identified that, if we worked together, we could, reduce, duplication of effort. They could do more if more people in more communities work together. And everyone there thought it was a great idea, and they started going forward on planning how to do that. Marge Roberson and Kirsten, my wife, went out. I think they had a second meeting planning. And the thing was, I mean, even though it was Central Association of UCC and we are Central Association, we're like the furthest east, I think, congregation. And it didn't really make sense for us to work with them. I mean, they were really just around Worcester. But I brought it back to our mission and outreach team, and I said, um, maybe we should do that here. We don't have to limit it to UCC churches. We could do it with all the faith communities. So we basically did a cold call. We wrote a letter and we sent it to all the faith communities in the area. We sent out about probably 20, maybe 25 letters. Said, hey, this is what we're thinking. Is anyone interested? If you are, let us know. And we got a pretty good response. I think probably like a dozen or so responses. And we met the first time in October or November of 2023. And then we started from there. And so what we did was we said, well, what are the issues that we are facing in the community? And at the time, that was when we were getting all the influx of immigrants that were filling up all the hotels and everything. And so that was number one priority at the time. And I was amazed at what some of the congregations in the area have been doing. For instance, Christ Lutheran in Natick, they for several years they had been partnered up with several other congregations in Wellesley, Needham, Wayland, and they had through the Lutheran conference, they had sponsored a family from I forget which country in Africa, but they set them up with housing, transportation, and got them education, the education they needed, jobs, and after 3 years they were pretty much on their own. So that was quite an effort, and a lot of people spent a lot of time on it, and there was some burnout, but that's the idea, is that if we can come together, we can sort of like, tag team here, spare each other. And so that was very inspiring. And then the other thing was what's going on at Hartford Street Presbyterian Church in Natick. They had an interim minister there, Katie Cole, young woman, and she was very active in Greater Boston Interfaith Organization, GBIO. And one Friday night, she got a call from one of her GBIO members, friends, and they said, we have a family that's arriving at Logan, and we have no place for them to go. The state organization that would house them, they're not going to open again until Monday. Is there something we can do? Do you have hotels out there you could do it? So Katie looked around. She couldn't find anything. She says, well, we can house them, for the weekend in our church, in one of the classrooms that we have. So that's what they did. And it ended up, they ended up housing, I think, 5 families over the course of like a year and a half.
Wow.
And they converted they had 2 classrooms downstairs in the basement. They converted those into apartments. They got a temporary showers they put down there. And they basically formed a group which they called Homebridge to help these families get settled in the area, which they have. So they all have housing now. They've all found jobs. They're still working on getting them cars that work reliably, which seems to be the big issue. But it was, and GB and several, like Kirsten, my wife from First Congregational Church, some folks from Christ Lutheran, and they all came together to help this family. And it was, it was eye-opening to Kirsten and myself, just just the amount of paperwork that people have to go through. And if English is not your first language, it's almost impossible. So Kirsten, super patient person, persistent, and getting these folks what they needed to find housing and such. So that was sort of how we started. But basically, what we do is we meet generally once a month, generally 10 times a year, and we just coordinate activities. So we share, what's going on in our communities, and we all, other communities are welcome to join in and help out or whatever. We've tried to target, larger issues. I mean, the big issue, like I said, starting out was, the housing in the hotels, motels, a lot of the immigrants that were coming in 2023, 2024. And the big so we've had groups come in and talk to us, and we had Rebecca Gallo from Place to Turn come speak to us once. They're right next to Hartford Street Presbyterian, and Katie and a couple other folks there were very active at A Place to Turn. So Rebecca came and spoke to us. It was really interesting. And then I have one ask. And she said, what would really help is if an organization could volunteer and commit to supplying 1,000 pounds of one of our major staples. And if they could do that, then we wouldn't have to worry about that at all for the year. And so that's what we've taken on. That's sort of like our big, right now, our big issue is since last April, the 8 member congregations have supplied 1,000 pounds or 1,000 boxes of pasta every month to A Place to Turn, and we're continuing that this year. And it's 1,000 boxes is a lot of pasta. But everyone has stepped up and contributed to it. And First Congregational now has done it twice. So we have we can say we donated a ton of pasta last year. But what we found is some of the congregations are smaller than others, and so they've teamed up. So two of them will do a month, so 500 and 500 or whatever. And I think that's sort of what we're looking for, and we're trying to recruit additional faith communities, organizations that might participate with us. In addition to that, I think for me personally, it's getting to know some of the leaders in some of the other faith communities, like Jeremy, who will be joining us, Rabbi Raish at Temple Israel, fantastic person. All the folks at Christ Lutheran and Hartford Street. It's just been very rewarding to work with them and be inspired by them. I mean, some of them, thinking, big goals and getting to make it happen has been very inspiring. And so just, basically building community. One of the other things that we did last year and we're planning to do again this year, Rabbi Raish introduced it to us. It was something that was started, I think, by the UN, is called a Harmony Week, which was a week, and last year it was like the week before Easter, so it coincided with some of the Jewish high holidays, Lent and Easter here, and also Ramadan. So we had activities at Temple Israel, at First Congregational, St. Paul's, the Methodist Church, and even we broke the fast with the Muslim community at the Spiritual Center, which was really interesting. So we're planning to do again that this year. I think we're trying to expand it to like a month to get involved. So before I move on, I guess I'm going to stop talking because I'm dry in the mouth. And if anyone has any questions so far.
Lane, I guess I've got a big picture question
Okay.
of um, for people who aren't church people, but are nevertheless caring about some of these same issues that your groups are working on. Um, I don't know, is there a way in for them, or is it, should they be scared about volunteering with one of these groups that they're going to get converted into like a devout person or something like that? Uh, I just,
No. If you look at the list of faith communities that are involved, it's a very progressive group, and we welcome. In fact, we have several participants who are unaffiliated, that but very active. Let's say in Natick is United, which has been very helpful. I mean,
yeah.
Natick is United. I have the utmost respect for them. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
And they do quite a bit. So we're very fortunate to be able to work with them. So they brought a lot of stuff to us, and we've been able to expand that to our communities.
So I guess another way of answering or asking the question, and perhaps that's your answer is it's already implied there. If people were interested in being a part or learning more about what you guys are doing, but don't happen to be a member of any or participant in any of those 8 organizations so far, what should they do?
Well, they could email me. I can put my email address in the chat here. And I can send them out. So we're meeting. Our next meeting is this coming Sunday, the 18th, at 1 o'clock at First Congregational. And I can also just put them on our send them the notes of meeting. I mean this organization, that was my next topic. We don't have a website. We don't have an email address. We just, get together every month or whatever, and just sort of like share information. And if something comes up, we have a, email distribution, and we send it out and invite people. It's very, very informal. Yeah.
And it also sounds like it's, I'm drawing a blank on the right word, but it's not religious, I guess is you're really focused on the work, social justice work you're trying to do in the community, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't say we're not religious. We're certainly, faith-based, based or whatever, faith community based. And it sort of has come out of that. I mean, I think, there is Natick is United, Spark Kindness, all the other organizations, Family Promise, A Place to Turn. They are all very active in caring for our communities. I think what the Caring Coalition does is basically, I don't know, puts the network of these faith communities into that, and sort of tries to help out, and again, not duplicate effort, and try to work together better, and be able to take on some of these bigger projects like, YIGBY and other things, and collecting 1,000 pounds of pasta every month. I mean, that would be impossible for any one, church or temple to do, right? But
and that was a Place to Turn's stated need, right? So I mean,
yes,
they've got demand
for
12,000 pounds a year,
right?
Wow.
And it's just, and we took pasta, but they were looking for like beans. They're looking for pasta sauce. They're looking for 1,000 pounds of that also. So, but we took pasta.
Yeah, I know we've had them up here at Coffee with Purpose in the past too, and the volume of business they do is astounding.
Yeah.
Does anyone, have questions? I do see Jeremy and Matt are with us now too. No, nothing at the moment. Okay.
All right. So Jeremy, I pretty much went through, the history a little bit, and how we came to be and what we've been doing. So it's actually great timing for both of you to jump in on YIGBY. And also, Jeremy, I have queued up that piece that Channel 5 did, so we can show that if you want.
Remind me, what was the piece about?
It was at they interviewed Brian Takasakis from
okay.
Chrysler
from
Hartford Street.
Hartford Street Presbyterian.
Yeah. So if we have time, we can show that. But
okay,
go ahead. I think it's
so. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jeremy.kadden. I am a member of the Caring Coalition and have been working a lot on affordable housing work as part of the coalition. And sorry, I wasn't able to join for the first half an hour, but I had a work conflict that I had to attend to. So one of the big initiatives that we've been working on that Lane probably already mentioned is the Yes in God's Backyard legislation, which we're trying to get through the Massachusetts Legislature this year if we can, and we've been working with a number of different partners to try to push that. I'll share a little bit in a few minutes about what we have been doing as part of the Caring Coalition thank you, Brinley. That's helpful. So I'll share in a few minutes what we've been doing as part of the Caring Coalition to try to push that agenda forward. But Matt Noyes, I don't know if I've pronounced your last name correctly. I'm sorry, Matt. Noyes. Okay, great. From CHAPA, which he can explain what that acronym stands for, has been really leading the effort among a lot of the advocates trying to push for this legislation. And he's agreed to be here and join us and give us a little bit of background about the bill and what the big picture is. And then I can jump in with some of the more granular details about what we've been doing in our district. So Matt, do you want to share a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you all so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure. Again, like Jeremy, I apologize for just jumping on now. I appreciate your time, though. So for those of you who don't know, I work for CHAPA. It's the Citizens Housing and Planning Association. We've been around for about 60 years. We are an organization growing out of the civil rights movement and dedicated to the idea that everyone deserves a safe, affordable, accessible place to live in a community that they choose. It is no secret that we are in the midst of an incredible set of housing challenges here in Massachusetts and across the country. Rental prices are going out of control. Home ownership costs are going out of control. Since 2020, the average rental costs for an apartment have gone up 50%. That's just in the past 5 years. So just to stabilize the housing market here in Massachusetts, we need 222,000 new homes over the next 10 years. They need to be homes. It's not 222,000 McMansions, to be clear. We need 222,000 homes across all levels of affordability, across extremely low income individuals, affordable around 80% of area median income, and we need market rate homes as well. We need supportive housing units with services attached to them for individuals and households who have experienced homelessness. So we are in a really challenging set of circumstances. When we look at the housing situation in Massachusetts, one of our biggest issues is land. The very first time, many years ago, for the very first time, I'm an East Coast guy, grew up, went to college around here. Very first time I went out west, I remember flying into Denver and being really struck as I flew into Denver airport. I said, oh my gosh, there is open space out here. I've never seen anything like this. That's not the situation we have here in Massachusetts. So when we look at where the land is, where we can build the homes, you look at who owns that land. And a lot of it is state land, a lot of it is already developed land, but a significant amount of the land that is developable across the Commonwealth is owned by religious institutions. All faiths. A lot of people, when they think religious institutions, the natural place to think about is the Catholic Church. And certainly the various archdioceses hold a significant amount of land, but it's across all faiths, all denominations. And so we've been working with the Lynch Foundation, who has in turn partnered with the Lincoln Land Institute to do a great deal of mapping of land across the Commonwealth. And if we took the developable land owned by religious institutions right now, non-developable land would include things like cemeteries, which are obviously not developable for housing. if you took all of the developable land and only took half of it, and let's say we developed half of that land, that has the potential to create 500,000 new units of housing across the Commonwealth. So it's a really incredible opportunity that we have. California, a few years ago, passed their own YIGBY legislation, and we based the bill that we filed at the beginning of this session on that bill. At its core, what our YIGBY legislation says is a religious institution that has owned property for at least 3 years can create housing on that property by right. Now, one of the biggest challenges when creating new housing is going through local zoning, going through special permit process. So when you have a by right process, it cuts months and years off the development process. Time is money when it comes to creating housing. So on the other end of it, what you have is homes that are much more affordable. Our legislation also says that a minimum of 20% of the homes that are created have to be affordable. This is 20% doesn't sound like a lot, 20%, but 20% mirrors what we have under the 40B legislation, which has been the most effective tool that we've had to create homes that are affordable in Massachusetts. And so, you know, we want to try to keep with that. Affordability also creates challenges for developers because they have carrying costs and they have labor costs and soft costs and hard costs. If you have the affordability levels too high, they just can't make things pencil out and they can't get things to work. So 20% tends to be the sweet spot. And in order to get at that 20%, you have to have a decent amount of density attached to it. So that's all the technical pieces of it. Let me tell you where the bill is right now. We filed at the beginning of the session and we immediately started building a really interesting coalition of organizations. So we had the usual suspects that I say, you know, the housing advocates, the CHAPAs of the world, that when we go into the State House, legislators, yep, CHAPA's here, they're ready to talk about housing. We have a lot of organizations associated with them. But with this YIGBY bill, we've been able to bring a lot more groups to the table. So now all of a sudden we have the Archdiocese of Fall River, the Archdiocese of Worcester endorsing it, the Unitarians, the Presbyterians, the Jewish Alliance for Law and Social Action. We have all these religious organizations coming in and saying, it is part of our social, our religious, our moral mission to create housing that is affordable. And also a lot of these religious institutions, their congregations have shrunk in size over the years, and many of them are income and have seen their own revenue decrease, but they own this land. So they're land rich and revenue poor in a lot of ways, and they're struggling to stay open, these community institutions. So they are seeing the possibility of this bill allowing them to live out their faith mission and also to generate revenue to keep their religious institution open. So that's a really important piece as well. We also have a lot of business groups working with this. I'm a very progressive person. It's not typical that I find myself on the same side as the Associated Industries of Massachusetts, or the Massachusetts Business Roundtable or the Massachusetts High Tech Council. All of these business organizations have found now that housing is one of their most significant issues because they can't hire employees. They can't retain employees. And I'm not talking about lower wage retail jobs that have consistently struggled on this. I'm talking high paying 6-figure jobs, biotech, information technology, medical, healthcare. Talked to a medical director down on the South Shore who said, we can't hire doctors at our hospital because doctors are coming here and they're saying, we don't know where we're going to be able to live. Talked to a community college president that said, we can't hire a director of nursing to expand our program because they can't afford a place to live up here. That is the backbone of the Massachusetts economy, and the business industry is recognizing this. And so they're endorsing this legislation as well. So literally, when we testified for this bill, we had a panel of developers, not unexpected. We had a panel of housing advocates, not unexpected. And then we had a business panel. We had High Tech Council, AIM. We had all these folks up there testifying. That made legislators take notice. And I was so close to my goal of having a panel that consisted of a priest, a rabbi, and a minister up there testifying. It was like the beginning of a really cheesy joke. Unfortunately, the minister had something come up at the last minute, but it was really something when there's a Catholic priest sitting next to a rabbi talking about a piece of legislation that is not, about religious freedom or something like that. It's about housing. Legislators pay attention. So we were really, really successful in this bill. What has happened in the past month is that Senator Sear from the Cape, who is the Senate chair of the Housing Committee, reported out a couple pieces of legislation, big bills. But one of them in particular is a YIMBY bill. So we've got YIGBY, yes, in God's backyard, and then we have YIMBY, yes, in my backyard, which includes a lot of different local zoning pieces that would allow for housing development. And he included YIGBY in that bill. So that bill is now at the Senate Ways and Means Committee. We have every indication that the Senate will move this bill forward. We're really excited about that. We're working with them on it. They made some changes to it. They improved the bill. We're providing some technical feedback on it right now. Actually, later today, I'm going to go in and meet with the Senate President's office to talk about some feedback on the legislation. So we believe we're going to get this through the Senate. Hopefully, in my own sense of legislative timing, we will get it through before the Senate takes up the budget in May. And then it'll open the field for the House to do it while the Senate's doing that after they finish their budget. But where we really need the work, where we really need the pressure is on the House. The House needs to recognize that this is something important. Legislators don't like to do big bills in consecutive sessions on the same issue. Those of you who have been involved in housing advocacy will remember that in 2024, the House and the Senate passed a huge bond bill, the Affordable Homes Act, that authorized billions of dollars in spending on housing, which is so important, and included more than 20 different policy proposals in there as well. At the same time, we were implementing what a lot of you might know as the MBTA Communities Act that required 177 communities, particularly in the eastern part of the state, to rezone for multifamily by right. That was a battle. We have over 93% of the communities in compliance right now, which is awesome. But there was a really kind of, the local news sometimes, my apologies for anybody who is a local news reporter or anything like that, they tend to focus on the negative. And so the very small number of cities and towns that pushed back on that bill got outsized amount of about media coverage. So there was impression that it was a bill that was, or a law that was opposed by a lot of folks. It really wasn't. But legislators are really skittish right now. And it's an election year. It's always an election year. So we need to convince the House that they've got to keep put the pedal to the metal, and we need to keep pushing forward. This bill is one of those things that will do that. So that is my little soapbox right there. I'm happy to answer any questions. I see Doug and Sarah have their hand up, and happy to answer questions if that works for folks.
Yeah, I had two questions, and then I see Cindy after. One, I apologize. I was refilling my coffee, so I half heard your remarks when I think you said that the amount of land available owned by religious institutions could provide 500,000 homes. Was that correct?
That would be correct. So if you took half of the developable land owned by religious institutions, and if all those religious institutions decided that they wanted to develop their land to the maximum extent allowable, it could potentially create 500,000 homes. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because any number of churches, temples, synagogues, mosques are not going to decide that they want to develop land for whatever reason, which makes total sense. And a lot of them might not develop up to the maximum density allowable. But that's the potential that we have there. There's no silver bullet when it comes to our housing crisis right now. We are way past that. We need I don't know, continuing the violent metaphor here, silver shotgun pellets or something. We need a lot of different tools.
Yeah.
But there's not one tool that'll do it. But YIGBY will move us in that way.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, because that's what I was thinking, was that not all of these religious groups would immediately say, okay, let's go. But on the legislation, when you're talking, the question that immediately came to my mind was, well, where's the opposition to it? And you're explaining, I guess, the logistics of sequentially passing multiple bills on the same subject, but like the Communities Act, that's what I would call a require bill, a new set of things that communities would be required to do, versus this bill seems to be an allow type bill that creates more possibilities, but doesn't actually require anybody to do anything. Is that a accurate characterization? And does that make it any easier of a sell? And related to that, is apart from kind of the sequential or just hurdle that you're talking about, is there opposition to this in any quarter? Like, what's the no argument, if there is one?
So yeah, you hit on, I would say, almost all of the opposition that we have. So the first challenge that we have is just the legislative calendar. Formal sessions will end over the summer. July 31st will be the last day where you can do big bills. After that, they have so-called informal sessions where bills can move by unanimous consent, but during an informal session, one member can stand up and object and stop things. Things are a little squishy around that. We're getting into really technical legislative nerdy things that I love, but we're under new joint rules right now, so there might be a little bit more wiggle room there. So we're under this calendar. We basically have about 6 months to push to get this done. So that's a piece of it. At the beginning of every session, there are somewhere around between 4,000 and 6,000 bills that are filed. Very few significant policy bills make it through. YIGBY and YIMBY would be significant policy bills, so that's a challenge of it. We have the reticence around doing more around zoning because they are, like I said, still feeling the bruises of MBTA communities. I'm trying to make the same case that you just made there, which is with MBTA communities, we had this case of death by, well, not 1,000 cuts, but 177 cuts, as each single city and town had to go to town meeting or go to city council and pass new zoning maps. This would not require them to do that. So I've been telling legislators, look, you've already done the hard part. YIGBY will not be that same challenge. It's not an entire swath of a community, it's single parcels of religious owned land. So it's a very different thing. So that's a piece of it. There's a very small opposition that I'm just going to whisper here in our friendly confines here of I say this as someone who grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic college. Sometimes the Archdiocese of Boston is not exactly the most popular institution in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and there is some opposition about passing a law that would in any way, shape, or form benefit the Catholic Church. My response to that has always been, look, the Catholic Church, if they want to build housing, they have the infrastructure to do this. They have the lawyers that can navigate local zoning laws. They have all that in place. This law is really needed for the small independent religious institution, that single storefront, maybe Baptist black church in a downtown urban area, or a non-affiliated Jewish synagogue that doesn't have all that other infrastructure around it. So that's been my response to that. And it gets getting caught up in some First Amendment stuff that we don't think really holds water. I'm not a lawyer, but when I talk to my lawyers who understand constitutional law. So those are pieces that we're navigating. We don't say that too far out loud. We don't need to make any cases for other folks right there, but there are some things that we're navigating, some politics around that as well. Cindy, I see your hand.
Yeah, so I have a list of 4 things. The first one is we had a presenter who I think at one point said that when maybe it's with the 40B that the requirement for 20% or 10% or whatever is to be affordable, that typically by law that's only for 20 years. So when you talk about the need, like, is any of this where the affordable, I can't remember if the bill is going to specify if a church would do this, whether some of this is required to be affordable, and if so, does it include that permanent?
I need to go back and look through and remember if it's permanent or it's the 20 years,
Okay.
20 or 30 year piece of it.
Okay.
It is a challenge with 40B that you have this deed restriction for a period of time. And there's a lot of work being done by housing advocates and developers to try to make sure that we don't lose those affordable units, that they don't get lost to market rates. So there's a lot of work going on that as well.
Okay.
We want to be able to strike the balance here. I would love this to be 100% affordable in perpetuity. A developer at the end of the day, they've got to cash the checks, and it's not even about making a huge profit. It's just about breaking even on this sometimes.
Yeah.
So we need to be cognizant of both sides. Yeah.
Okay. Then the second thing that occurred to me is where is the Massachusetts population, say, over the last 100 years? And is it true that it hasn't changed that much, that really what we have is fewer people in the same number of buildings? And are there efforts, maybe not part of what you're doing right now, but efforts to put more people in the same buildings that we already have, houses, say?
I mean, there's a lot of work on that that's
Okay.
going on. I think overall what you see is, Massachusetts certainly is not growing as fast as other areas of the country. And
Okay.
that's certainly reflected in our congressional representation. We have fewer members of the House in DC than we had 40 years ago. And that is because an overall population shift to the south and to the west in the country. So we are certainly challenged with that. At the same time, we have I wouldn't say we are losing population overall. We just don't have the homes that we need right now. It's really a supply and demand issue.
Okay. Okay. Um, another issue that bothers me quite a bit is when that developers, I think, rightly say that it costs almost twice as much to build affordable housing as it does to cost to build regular housing because of all the rules and regulations. And are people like CHAPA are working on in the future legislation that would streamline that process? Seems
Now
so
we're getting
wasteful.
I'm happy to get really wonky with you on this. The short answer is yes, we are. There is particularly federal legislation that we're working on quite a bit around something that was passed under Trump 1 called BABA, Build America, Buy America, that required the use for infrastructure projects of American-made materials and products. Which is, certainly has some value to that. Under the Biden administration, HUD chose to classify housing and affordable housing as being applicable under BABA, which I would argue was not a correct interpretation of what Congress passed. We are currently working right now with the Trump administration and with Congress to pass legislation that would exempt affordable housing for that, and that would help bring down some of the challenges, some of the costs associated with that, because there's a lot of materials out there that are subject to BABA that are just simply not made in the United States. You can't find these materials, and a lot of the materials are not made to the scale that we could do it. So BABA just drives these costs up, 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 up. I'm talking things like heat pumps. I'm talking things like doorknobs. Even small items really drive that up. They're just not available in the United States. So it would not hurt American trade, but it does hurt that. There's a lot of work as well around environmental challenges, environmental requirements to go through all these screenings. Massachusetts has really robust environmental screening, environmental standards. A lot of times what developers are finding is they have to, if they're accessing state funds and federal funds for affordable housing, they have to go through local environmental review, state environmental review, and federal, when a lot of times it's the same
Cumbersome.
thing over and
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
So it's things like that we're looking at
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Great. And then the last thing is, I'm curious about the sort of like if I could picture a graph of the distribution of the developable parcels by size. Like you said that mostly you're trying to focus on the small, like they have a storefront or they have, just a room in their backyard. But I'm just curious, like how you could describe that.
We have, through the Lincoln Land Institute, we have that drilled down. So working through Lincoln, we can look at a specific city and town and decide and identify the individual parcels, the parcel size, the walkability score of that parcel. If it's already been connected to water, sewer, other utilities, what density, how many homes we could develop there. So we can drill down very specifically.
But just without getting really specific, if the parcels range from less than an acre to more than 500 acres or somewhere,
I don't think we've got anything of that large.
Okay, well, whatever the top is, like where is the 50%, 90%? Where are they?
That would be speculation if I looked at it. I haven't looked at that overall. I've only looked at it at a city and town level.
Oh, okay.
Typically, they're around like an acre and a half total.
Okay, so mostly really small.
Yeah, they're not huge swaths. It's not like for those of you who are in the Concord area, it's not like MCI Concord when that's getting redeveloped. We're not talking about swaths of land that big.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely. Brinley.
Hi. Grateful for you being here today. Housing is a something I feel very passionate about. So I'm really grateful for all of you guys for being here and all of this work. I have two questions. One I'll do second, which is the circling back to the environmental aspect. But the first one is we just had a forum in town that talked about our new housing downtown. And one of the things that was mentioned was that some of the affordable units that are available at 80% AMI, not really affordable. Yep. In Natick, in certainly for my definition of affordability, the lottery, there wasn't enough lottery. So the reason I bring this up is my question is, in your efforts to work on creating the housing, do you also have an arm that works on helping to connect people with all across areas that have lottery units and affordable units that they're looking to fill? And do you have any kind of a partnership with that?
We do. CHAPA works with so there's two organizations. It's the Housing Navigator runs a website, so all of the affordable rental units throughout the state are listed on the Housing Navigator, and so you can search those by city and town and availability and what the rent is and what the affordability restriction is there. So we work with the Housing Navigator, and then CHAPA also does 40B home ownership monitoring, and we run a website called My Mass Home that is affordable home ownership opportunities. We are one of the monitors for the Commonwealth Builder program, which was created during the pandemic that allows for that creates affordable home ownership opportunities in gateway cities and in Boston. So it's one of these really important tools that has created home ownership opportunities for first generation homeowners, which is a great thing. So we work on that. And then we also do a lot of resale monitoring of affordable homes, because as we were talking about earlier, the affordability restrictions on even some of the home ownership last for 20 years. Well, if an individual sells before the 20 years are up on it, the restriction continues, and so we run the lottery for the home ownership, for the resale on the home ownership, affordable home ownership units as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. If I don't get some of those links in the chat, if anybody, because I was listening instead of searching, if anybody else is able to put those in the chat, that would be great. Those specific resources that you just mentioned. And then my second one is, so in addition to being a housing advocate, I'm also really a sustainability and energy advocate, which I think is true of probably a lot of our regulars in this group. And one of the things that we've been talking about recently is House Bill 4744. And it's staying in that vein of affordability and expanding it for keeping people in their homes and costs of energy to keep people in their homes. Because oftentimes, a boiler goes and that can, cost somebody dearly. Do you do any activism on that side? So I know you were talking about the big federal bill, the BABA bill, but locally, those of us who tie housing affordability in large part or in consistent part with energy efficiency, et cetera, we're very, very concerned about this bill and cuts to mass save and that type of thing, and the approach of this bill towards helping people maintain and stay in their housing, and the relationship to that. And I'm wondering if you guys have any kind of that arm. So I know there's a difference in the supply, which I agree with in all of that, but in terms of this current bill, we're really looking for housing people, advocates to help us make sure that we mass save, because it really does help people stay in their homes. And anyway, yeah.
So a couple issues around this. So this is the bill that was reported on Telecom, Utilities and Energy back in November. to a great deal of opposition from environmental groups. This is House 4744 that you referred to before. We shared the opposition of those groups, and we were not supportive of that legislation. It was pulled back at the last minute, somewhat surprisingly. We were waiting for a redraft of that bill, and so we'll see what that looks like when it gets redrafted, and we'll get in there on that. So this governor has identified her two main priorities are around climate change and housing, which are two big issues. Sometimes they butt up against each other. Sometimes they work in conjunction with each other. The Affordable Homes Act that I referred to earlier included a whole bunch of new requirements under a lot of state affordable housing financing programs around meeting environmental and energy standards. And, we are supportive of those. We are supportive of environmental protections. We have to recognize at the same time, though, that it's not like those things those things come with a cost. When you're requiring affordable homes to meet all of these environmental standards around zero carbon, around energy efficiency, there's a cost to that, and that cost has to be taken up somewhere. And the result of that is more expensive homes on the other side. Now, we need to be aware of that. Nothing comes for free. And maybe that is a cost we are willing to bear, but it's not like just putting those standards into place. We can just have this. We'll be totally fine with everything, and there will be no impact on the other end. So it's all of the above as we look at this. Certainly, folks, because they choose or they have to, or that's the homes that they can afford are affordable homes. They should not enjoy the same environmental and energy efficiency benefits that anyone else does. But there is a balance to be struck there, and we need to be aware of that. So we work with that quite a bit. We look at, to be perfectly frank, there are some cities and towns that have environmental standards, local environmental standards, and wetlands protections and sewer restrictions that exceed state standards considerably, with very minimal in actual environmental benefit. And if you were to actually give some of these city and town leaders some truth serum, they might be willing to actually admit that, yeah, we have these standards in place because we don't want development in our town. There's still a NIMBY thing out there in a lot of cities and towns. So we need to be aware of the whole universe of what's going on. Nothing is always cut and dry. I'm not demonizing all cities and towns for that. I'm not saying that all environmental standards that exceed state standards have no merit, but there are some, and we need to be aware of those that are out there as well. So I know I've been talking for a long time. I think we're over time, but I'm happy to talk to folks. I know this is a really interested group here, and I think Jeremy had to jump off, which I apologize for taking up his time.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we saw Jeremy go, but I was interested in, perhaps Lane can speak to this in Jeremy's absence, what bringing it back locally, what's the Caring Coalition doing with YIGBY, or how can people be involved at that aspect?
So the Caring go ahead, Lane.
Go ahead.
I'll row in after you. You talk specifically about caring, and then I'll talk about the.
I think our trump card was the fact that we most of us reside in Karen Spilka's district, and so and as Matt said, it's gone through the Senate now, and I don't know if we had any effect on that, but we had a meeting with Karen Spilka and her staff at the Hartford Street Presbyterian Church this past summer. And if I put in the chat, the link to Channel 7 did a piece on YIGBY, and they featured Hartford Street Presbyterian. You can see all the land that they own between Hartford Street and the Sherwood Plaza shopping center. And they've been talking for years about developing that. And also Temple Israel, which is pretty much adjacent, just down the street, has also looked at developing some of that. So that was our big push, and now I guess we have to focus on the house somehow.
Do we have anything lined up with Linsky to talk to?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
We are pushing those. That was an incredibly powerful event. I don't think we can ever point to one particular action saying it resulted in this bill moving, but I certainly didn't hurt. You know, getting the Senate president to recognize something in her district that would benefit that is desired by her community, that would be benefited through a law is really helpful. So we are looking for other opportunities to be doing that in cities and towns. We are constantly recruiting more organizations, you know, at a macro level, at the large overarching religious institution, down to individual churches, individual religious institutions to be involved, chambers of commerce, local businesses to support that, and anyone who can reach out to legislators and particularly members of the House and with the message saying, we need more housing. This is a tool that will help us get the homes that we need. We need these homes in order that Massachusetts can thrive, because we are losing really the backbone of the Massachusetts economy. We are losing the opportunity for young people to continue to live in Massachusetts. We talk about, you know, we want a state where grandkids can live close to their grandparents. We want cities and towns where students, college students, can come back and afford a place to live. We don't want to be losing the best and the bright. We don't want to be losing our population to other states because they're searching for homes that are affordable. You know, I every day I count myself incredibly fortunate that I am in a housing situation that I was very lucky to be in, and I think a lot of folks, my generation and younger, look at that and say, if we have housing that is stable, it's because we were lucky on a lot of levels. Shouldn't have to be this lucky to do that. And you know, I really worry about where Massachusetts is going to go if we don't address this. The best time for us to have addressed the housing crisis was 25 years ago. The next best time for us to address it is now. So we need to really get in and dig on this. And YIGBY is one of those tools that's going to help.
Okay.
So I am happy to, I will pop my my email in the chat. I'm happy to talk with folks, to meet with folks on this. We would love people to be involved in this. We really see this as being a real opportunity this session. This is a top CHAPA priority that we want to see get done. One piece about the YIGBY bill that has a lot of appeal to cities and towns that I didn't mention that I should have mentioned. These properties right now, because they're owned by religious institutions, are not on municipal tax rolls. So municipalities are not benefiting through taxes. I don't know how many Prop 2.5 overrides there have been in the past 5 years, but a lot. This is one of the ways that we can help benefit schools, police, local fire departments, things like that. So this would bring the properties back onto the tax rolls after they're developed. So it's not a free ride. We were very cognizant, very conscious of that. If a municipality were to choose to give a religious institution a tax exemption for their property, that's up to the municipality, but they would have to take action to do that. The default is to bring it onto the tax rolls. Yeah, Rick.
Rick, I see you have your hand up.
No, I'm going to put in a chat a website about Needham Congregational Church, my church, which had bought a building next to it and then sold it for an affordable housing development with affordable units in it. The units are all small. I don't know what they go for or what they did, but it was a good use of a property that was a mistake to buy in the first place. So it set the congregation back on many other renovation plans, but it was worth doing. And it's a much more attractive building than it used to be. That's all.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you indulging me with the extra time on this. And happy to talk more about this. YIGBY is going to be a huge push. I'm cautiously optimistic. I tell people I'm a Red Sox fan from before 2004, so I don't count any chickens until they're well and fully hatched on this. So I won't make any predictions, but I am optimistic.
Great. So Rick, did you have one more question?
Nope.
Okay,
thank you. This was great. Well, what is the Senate bill number? Somebody may have put that in the chat. But what is
it is I want to say 2836, but I don't think that's right. Hold on, let me get it really.
It's all right. I can look it up. What's it?
Right.
Yes, it is Senate 2836.
Okay, thank you.
I'll pop the link in the chat right here.
Okay, good. we should definitely all reach out to Representative Linsky, who's also a real Natick person.
And the very specific ask that you could make of Rep.
Yeah.
Linsky is not only his support of the bill, but also talk to the speaker. Talk to
Yeah.
Speaker Mariano about why this is important.
Okay.
Judy.
All right. Judy, did you have a question?
I just wanted to add to the conversation. I support all of the efforts to get YIGBY passed, and I'm excited about the expansion in housing that such legislation could provide. Just on a local level, I wanted to let folks know that Family Promise is already engaged in some innovative relationships with faith communities. This is not in developing new housing, but it is in utilizing underused housing or creating naturally affordable opportunities for families that are partnered with us. So in one case, we're associated with a congregation who owned a 2-family house on their premises. They rent that to us now, and we sublet that to 2 of the families who have emerged from our shelter program. And in another case, church had a very large rectory, a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom home. And they were in an interim minister situation where the minister was not interested in using the house on the campus, but sought a stipend toward housing. That's happening more and more because, like any of us, clergy wants long-term security for their retirement. And home ownership is one of the ways that we establish that. It's sort of just part of our financial process, right? So this congregation came to us with an interest in earning some money from their empty rectory so that they could put that toward the stipend for the minister. And we now rent that 5-bedroom house and are able to place families facing housing insecurity in those 5 bedrooms transitionally. It aligns well with their mission. And so we may also see through YIGBY that affordability may align well with the mission of many faith communities. And we may see maybe even more affordability than we envision. But just excited about all of the flexible ways we can use the resources that faith communities have.
Good
I
stuff.
appreciate everyone's time. I actually have to jump. I have to catch a train so I can get downtown. But thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And my email's in the chat. Please feel free to reach out whenever.
Thank you very much, Matt. Great.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Bye.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. This has been a great session.
Wow.
Yeah. Lane, the faith organizations that are involved in Caring Coalition so far, does it include any Catholic churches at this point, or no?
No, not yet.
Okay. I assume that they were included in who you reached out
Yeah,
to.
we reached out to St. Pat's and the parish down in Sherburne, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm sure they're involved in some way.
Well, I know Cindy,
maybe not housing, but others are.
yeah, I think Cindy has reached out, Reverend Cindy at First Congregational has reached out to the priest at St. Pat's. Really, we'd like to get more congregations involved in the pasta collection. So that's that's a big thing and important. So the more hands, the easier it gets. So
yeah.
But yeah,
cool. All right.
And then, as far as I think I mentioned, Natick is United, Family Promise, we try to, work with, groups that aren't necessarily faith-based. And I think, with Natick is United, one of the big things we do with them is the mini pantries, right? We support one of those, and I guess Doug, you're building the second one over at Cole Center.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just tangentially involved in that. I don't know the time frame, but yes, I understand that a second one is going to be built.
Yeah,
like you say, near the Cole Center.
Yeah,
cool.
So yeah, it's good to have them.
Yeah, Sally.
A quick question, Lane. Is the spiritual center a part of your pasta?
No, they have not joined us with the pasta. Yeah.
Thank you.
That being said, though, particularly Spiritual Center, since it's right across the common from First Congregational, if there were members of that wanted to get some pasta or, help, they could certainly, I'm sure, partner with First Congregation or honestly any of the other ones. But
No,
correct
that's
me if I'm wrong, Lane, but yeah.
well, that's I think that one of the focuses of this year is to recruit some more faith communities to participate in the pasta collection.
Yeah, like you said, smaller ones can band together if
Yeah,
a
right,
thousand is
right.
too steep for them.
Yeah, 500 is doable. 1,000 is a
Thousands a
pretty
lot.
good lift. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Lane built Mount Pasta in our sanctuary the first time we did this, and it was pretty impressive.
I
Cindy?
got a
Oh,
Yeah, just a curious question of why they really want the pasta in kind. They would rather have the actual pasta than the money to buy it. And can you just explain what it is, how that works for them? Like,
Well, my understanding is that they don't have to worry about it. They're going to get pasta. So
okay.
that's one of the million things that they have to worry about that they don't have to worry about. I think that's my understanding. That's the real reason.
Okay. Thank you.
I think Paul was trying to speak, and then Judy also has her hand up.
Yeah. Thanks, Elaine, for being here. And I'm a Catholic in Natick, and I attend services at St. Linus over in West Natick, and every week I know we're collecting food products after Mass at our church. I don't know if it's going to the food pantry directly in Natick or not. I'm not positive of that. I generally make a cash contribution. I hate shopping, so like many, I make a cash contribution towards food product. But I think it's a great program you folks are doing in Natick, and I had to run back and forth this morning. I got kind of a quasi emergency going on with one of my clients, so I've been back and forth. But I appreciate the time you're putting into this and your work you're doing for this project. So thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Paul. And yeah, I guess I would urge anybody in our community that's associated with any of the faith organizations that aren't already part of Caring Coalition. If you see something you like that you think is resonating with some of the work your institution does, tell them about, share the link with this video once it's up, or put them in touch
Yeah,
with Lane or something.
I will pass a word to the pastor of St. Linus and St. Patrick's, Father Chip, and he's big in the community giving, so I'll give him a tap on the back.
Great.
That's great. Yeah, it always helps to hear it from one of their own flock, so to speak. Judy.
I just wanted to share a little bit about what, in regards to Cindy's question. I was kind of at the Caring Coalition meeting when the rotating congregation idea came through and it was settled on pasta. And also being in the role that I now hold at Family Promise, I understand that there are often two kinds of donors in our community. There are folks like Paul who are like, let me get my checkbook or my phone out to Venmo you. And then there are people who really like to do the concrete, who like to give things. And this is a great way to leverage that and to leverage the team aspect, the contagion of giving, right? As you see the pile of pasta growing at a faith community. And it's great strategically because it's a no-brainer item. It's an item they know they need a ton of, so to speak. And it's not something that folks are going to go rogue on and like mess up, right? Because it's great when an organization has different types of giving that connects with different people. And I think it's really brilliant on the part of the coalition, in collaboration with the Place to Turn.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Judy. Yeah.
Paul, you could.
I open my mouth now. I can't stop. So I do a behavioral health group once a week on Saturday mornings, about anywhere from 12 to 20 participants. And I would certainly, with permission from you folks, get the get this group to take part and help participate and make donations to this very worthy cause.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, you guys, I think, have each other's. Lane, I can give you Paul's email if you don't already have it. But that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Lane, thanks so much for coming, and pass our thanks along to Matt and Jeremy. Sounds like it's all great work, and if open door, you're always looking for more involvement from people. But the need's never ending, but it's encouraging to know that there are pragmatic things that we can be doing and that it makes a difference.
Yeah. You should get, if you haven't had them already, or if you had them a while back, Natick is United. I mean, they're fantastic what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I
Yeah,
think,
we have had Miriam and Marge on.
Okay. All right.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Cool. Good. Well, thank you for that. So let's see. Next week we will not be having a session because it's MLK Day celebrations. I would urge everybody, hopefully, to is it at the high school?
At the high school.
At the high school. Yeah, and then and actually, then after that, we have a several week period of open speaker slots as usual. Cindy Bates is working with me to line up a couple. March, I think we will be devoting the entire month to candidate sessions, hopefully, since we do have contested races for the school committee, and we'd like to get select board candidates as well, even if it's uncontested. But we do have February slots open. So if folks have ideas about that, please get back to me. Brindley, we always turn to you for the local event calendar and then anyone else that's got stuff. What should we be paying attention to in the coming days?
Well, you mentioned Martin Luther King, so I'll just give specifics in case people are need them. It is at the high school. The community connection part starts at 9:30, and I think they've got like coffee from Starbucks or something. They've got stuff happening for that part, and then the actual program and celebration starts at 10 a.m. But in addition to that, they are doing a fill the van. Spark Kindness doing a fill the van in honor of Martin Luther King Day, and that is on Tuesday at the high school, asking people to bring specifically. I put a link in there to Natick Report that has all this information for anyone interested, but they're looking specifically for peanut butter and jelly, pasta sauce and pasta, toothpaste, soap, snacks, canned beans, soups, tuna juice, cereal, not tuna juice, tuna juice.
That's what I thought,
Cereal.
Brindley. What is tuna juice?
Yeah, man, just open the can and pour the juice and bring them that, you know. The van benefits Place to Turn and the Natick Service Council.
Just to clarify, that's not Tuesday. That is on Monday during the event.
Oh, well, then you should actually call Natick Report because Natick Report has it listed as Tuesday.
Okay. I just double checked. I'm on the planning committee for the program, so I see a lot of the stuff. I just checked Spark's Facebook feed. It's January 19th.
Yeah, actually, that's so funny. I see it down. If I scroll down a little bit further, I do see that. But on Natick Report, they have it listed as Tuesday, January 19th. So,
okay.
So we probably want to get that fixed.
Benefit of being online, that if we get it corrected, then it will be correct for all future viewers of it.
I know. And then one of the things, you know me, school committee. So I just would love to bring up that tonight on school committee, they will be talking about the strategic plan again and the communication around that. And then they also have on there an update on the field design plans. So for those of us who've been following that, it seems like it might be a good night to tune in and pay attention. I think that's my big stuff for this week. Oh, I would love to give a shout out to all the people who were able to go on Saturday downtown. It was a pretty big day. I wasn't able to get there, but it looked like it was a pretty big day. So if any of you were able to go, and for the organizers, I'm grateful for that effort. That happened.
There were at least 300 people there, and given the short notice, I thought it was pretty impressive that there were, that many of us down there. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, grateful for that.
Great.
Thanks. It was great. Brinley, I tuned out for a minute. Did you mention the school committee meeting tonight and they're discussing the Johnson School? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'd also like to give a shout out to Kate and Jen for joining us from Natick Moms group. Spread the word to your community. Not being a mom, I have never, but I hear great things about that organization. So happy to have you guys continue to join us at Coffee with a Purpose. I'll add your email addresses, and I would just
Doug,
add.
Could I
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, just quickly, as a result of our meeting in December about Earth Day and brainstorming, one idea that I'm following through with is with Net Zero, to try to get some cooperation with them to sort of to create yard signs that are more permanent, like ask me about our heat pump, or ask me about our, whatever, composting or smart, thermostat or whatever. But I think they might be able to help us fund extra signs that we could. Debbie's idea was give out at our booth on Earth Day to people to try, and that the heat pump coaches could also target customers that they've worked with, to see if they will put up a sign in their area. And we could do that with other neighbors. And, initially we'd start with a very small batch of signs, very simply designed, stick QR codes on them if they want to contact a heat pump coach or find out about aggregation rates or whatever it is, and something obviously to EcoNatick where we might be able to store that. Anyway, Debbie was excited about the idea. I talked to Mark Ralston, the heat pump, head heat pump coach, and I'm going to go to Net Zero Wednesday and see if we can't start working with Net Zero. He thinks that although he's no longer on the committee, he attends. He thinks that they're looking for ways to kind of cooperate and expand their not just to be tracking net zero emissions, but also to be, actively doing something in the community that's felt. So maybe this will be one opportunity, and I hope maybe others will come up with others. So thanks to all for getting us to think of, working with others, which we're already doing, on Earth Day, but to think of how we can give it some legs as well with other organizations.
Yeah, I know I've had conversations with Jillian about, as a person who lives in an old house, modern houses are set up to be able to be energy efficient. Old houses are not. And the process Doug and I went through to get our house off oil and converted to heat pumps was complicated. And, it just, for somebody else in an old house to talk to somebody who's been through it, I think could be helpful.
Yeah, there's actually been an interesting discussion on the Natick Dads Facebook group just going on now about heat pump configurations and how much electricity do they use, but what are all the factors that affect that and so forth. And every house is different.
Well, that'd be a good link to to be able to have through a QR code on a sign like that is Natick Dads and, other things. So we're going to have to do some brainstorming. We're not going to finalize anything on this for a few months. So that'd be great.
Cool.
And I wish when we had an oil spill in 1995 over Christmas that we had known about heat pumps, because we would love to have gotten off oil then. We had no choice.
Oh, I'll tell you, actually, you probably wouldn't have wanted to switch in 1995. The technology wasn't there yet. You probably still would have had to have your oil or some other form of heat.
Well, Brinley, I don't know what we would have done. We might have gone propane. I don't know what we would have done, but we'd have done to get out of oil after losing our entire basement.
That's the biggest misconception right now, I think, about heat pumps. In fact, in the thread, a lot of folks with fairly recent installations are still saying, well, we have backup heat for this or that. You don't need them.
Yeah.
The newer heat pumps
Not anymore.
are
When
good.
it was 8 degrees last month, we were perfectly comfortable.
Yeah.
But I hear the thing about the oil spill. Being in the business I was in, I thought if my oil tank ruptured, I would never hear the end of it from my colleagues. So we went ahead and replaced our old oil tank. So the one that we just got rid of wasn't that old, but we're glad to be off fossil fuels, at least for heating. Still have to work on the car.
Well, we had hazmat and a big deep hole underneath our basement for a long time.
That would have
it's
been me.
brutal.
That would have been me
Definitely
digging a
brutal.
hole in your basement, Rick.
And it was a finished basement, so it was a
Oh,
struggle.
so real quick before we leave, just with the supporters, so Sarah and I have taken on a project. Speaking of Earth Day all around Natick, and so we've Sarah and I've stepped up our efforts this time to take over a lot of what Debbie has done because she's unable to do it this time. So I just always want to have a shout out to say, if anybody that doesn't help wants to help, we are looking for help. Anytime.
For ideas.
Yeah. And this year it is May 2nd. The on the common part is Saturday, May 2nd, and the Earth Day all around Natick will be May 2nd and 3rd.
Cool.
Well, thank you to both of you. Huge thanks for those others of us. And, we do hope to expand the volunteer thing. So let's keep working on it.
Yeah. All right. Good. I think that's a good wrap point. So great discussion this morning. Thanks everyone for participating and joining, and enjoy the rest of the week and the MLK celebrations next Monday, and we'll see you again at the end of January.
Thank you, Doug.
So Doug, I got one question. Have you started booking for the school committee candidates and such?
No, I have not yet. I just have reserved the time on the calendar. But yeah, we need to start reaching out to the candidates. If that's something you want to help with or have some intel, just contact me separately.
Yeah, definitely. I have at least 3 people to email you. So great.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording.